Wicked is now out playing in theaters, and I was able to check it out last night, and I'm someone who was not excited for this film whatsoever. Emphasis on that not, because even that feels like an understatement. Every single trailer they released for this film, I thought looked like hot garbage. I could not see how anybody was getting excited for this film due to the large amount of hatred I had for those trailers and the marketing for Wicked. It looked horrible. So my expectations were down low in the ground, even with the positive reception that came from a lot of those fan screenings and early screenings and press screenings and whatnot. So I am so pleased to say that I really like this film. While I didn't love it, there is so much to take in and enjoy here. I'm going to start off with my favorite thing about this film, the production design. The film features an incredible array of practical sets, and they're all so beautiful to look at. And as someone who thought the film looked pretty ugly visually from its trailers, I'm so happy to see that this film doesn't look bad. Actually, it looks pretty decent. It's shot quite well. The cinematography is really cool and very reminiscent of The Wizard of Oz and older Hollywood films. So it looks really, really good. And, you know, the trailers made it look like a gray, sloppy corporate mess visually. So I am so just happy that the film actually looks really, really good. The musical numbers, and believe me, this is a musical, obviously. It's based off of a Broadway play. There are countless musical numbers in this film, all across the runtime, and they're all really well done. Some songs are really good and really catchy, but what most all of them have in common is that the passion from the actors and actresses performing them is there. Everybody is giving it their all, especially our two lead actors in Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, who are both equally as great. I think their chemistry is really good together, even though I think Elphaba and Glinda's relationship and friendship is one of the most underutilized aspects of the film. The film plays out as a pretty solid character study for Elphaba, the Wicked Witch of the West, and you know, at least in the eye of the public, how she becomes the Wicked Witch of the West, because this is a part one, so we don't get to fully see her transformation into what she's like in, you know, The Wizard of Oz. This is a very long part one. I'll touch more on the runtime and my problems with it later on, but this is a long, long film. Moving on to my issues now. There are many characters and subplots introduced that went absolutely nowhere. There are a few interesting characters that are given some decently structured storylines and subplots, but they aren't as explored as I would have liked. I think if I mention their names, it might be a spoiler. There's a character named Bach, right? And he was pretty interesting. He was pretty fun. He just disappears for the entire third act, and I don't know. He was interesting enough for me to want to see more of him. Maybe we'll get more of it in part two, but this film, it's overly long. And every single interesting subplot in the third act is replaced by just the most uninteresting stuff ever. I think the third act is so stretched out and drags multiple times. This thing is approaching 3 hours, and as I already said, it drags multiple times throughout, especially during that last half hour or so. The funny thing is that there are multiple moments where the film could have ended, in my opinion, but it felt as if it kept going on and on and on. It just drags multiple times. I don't know, man. I don't know why this is 3 hours long. That's insane to me. Wicked is a very solid and highly entertaining film that blew my expectations out of the water and quickly became one of the most surprising films of the year. Seeing this in a theater packed with theater kids, it was a lot of fun because they cheered multiple times as if we got like a Marvel cameo or something. It was actually quite fun to see it in a theatrical, you know, with a theatrical audience. I'm not a big fan of Wicked, the Broadway play. Actually, I didn't know anything about it except for that one poster that everybody, you know, knows about. Other than that, I didn't know anything about this film, and it quickly became one of the most surprising movies of the year. It's heavily flawed, but it accomplishes everything that it pretty much set out to do. It delivers a faithful prequel to arguably one of the most iconic stories in fictional history. I liked a lot of the callbacks to The Wizard of Oz and how things we've been familiar with for years were canonically created. I really liked Wicked, and I can now say that I am looking forward to the sequel, even if the trailers are bad. So the moral of the story is, don't let the trailers decide whether you see a film or not, because, you know, Transformers 1 and Wicked are living examples of that. Really good film.